Well, welcome to the Jig is Up, Tristan. And I saw your post the other day, and you gave us permission to share it. And I just kind of wanted to talk to you a bit about that and since then I've learned that you've done a walk and you've gone to Regina and stuff like that. So it kind of there's a whole bunch of stuff I think we can talk about easily, and I just kind of want to give you the space to not be edited, not have 4 minutes to explain everything, but just explain a little bit about what you're doing, and maybe I know you did like a 600-kilometer walk. So I just kind of tell us a
In
little
the
bit.
midst of the 600-kilometer walk, we're at the 380-kilometer point.
Oh, wow.
The walk is 635 kilometers in total. We've made it to the city of Saskatoon.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what is what prompted you to do this walk? I think I kind of read it, but I just want to let everybody know what prompted this.
Well, just some context and some background. Northern Saskatchewan, the leading cause of death is suicide for the demographics ages 10 to 46, which is pretty horrifying because there's a lot of gang violence, there's a lot of drug overdoses, there's a lot of alcohol-related fatalities. The Crown prosecutor, ex-Cree lawyer Harold Johnson wrote a national bestseller, Firewater, addressing that problem, and the amount of deaths caused by alcohol, and suicide beats all of that.
Wow.
And that's pretty nasty. So Saskatchewan has the highest suicide rates in Canada. For every 30 girls that commit suicide in the province, only one of them is not Indigenous. And since 2005, there's been over 2,200 deaths that were suicide. I met the Saskatoon Chief of Police, Troy Cooper, yesterday. He came to our event at the Vimy Memorial in Saskatoon. And he said they responded to 2,000 calls last year that were suicide attempt related.
Wow.
And that is unacceptable.
Yeah,
So
those are some staggering numbers. Like, that's crazy.
There was a member of the Legislative Assembly named Doyle Vermette, and he's from the Cumberland constituency, the northern half of the province. He brought a bill to the floor. It was dead on arrival. They didn't even consider it. They just kind of killed it in the planning stages. And then he brought it back, and it made it to the floor. They asked for a vote count. And basically, that was the bill that last month was unanimously voted down. And there was nothing in that bill that the New Democratic Party was not willing to negotiate and work with the Saskatchewan Party on, because Doyle Vermette said this is not an NDP bill. This is not a political bill. This is bipartisan. This is doing the right thing. This is trying to stop more youth from burying themselves and trying to bring down those disgusting statistics of the deaths caused by suicide in our province, which are the highest in Canada. And he had brought some family members of people who committed suicide. And so they were there as a living, breathing testimonial of this is real. This is more than statistics. Look at our pain. Look at us. Help us. And they unanimously said no. And I read that CBC article. I was disgusted. Within 15 minutes, I had my plan. A walk from La Ronge to Regina, 635 kilometers, followed by a hunger strike until they are willing to legislate something meaningful that I think can save lives, and until they legislate some kind of accountability so that no sitting government can ever do nothing again. That's what this is.
Wow, that's amazing. And those numbers are they're so sad that you have all these people in power and nobody seems to really care to do anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, they have this attitude of not our children, not our problem.
Yeah.
They have this attitude of, oh, that's in the north. You know, there's only like 2 or 3 people that get a seat in that governmental house from the north, from those regions, because they're so huge and expansive. And so really, they don't have a voice at that table. You want to know what our northern politicians do? They drive all the way to Regina. They hurt their backs while they do it. They say, we need this, 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 and this. And the government says, nah. And then they go home. And so when people ask me, do you want to get into politics? You're very articulate. I say, I have better things to do with my time. I know what our people get paid to do. Talk to a brick wall. Not my cup of tea.
Now, one of the things that brought all of this to my attention was that a post that you had posted where you were talking about Métis leadership and these elected officials, and you talked about the government of Saskatchewan and things like that. How have you had any support whatsoever from like the Métis Nation or these Métis elected officials or anybody like that? Have they supported you as far as financially on your walk, or just even supported promoting your walk?
Okay, so the president of the Métis National Council, Clement Shortji, texts me. I'm very proud of what you're doing. Your uncle would be very proud of what you're doing. My uncle was a Métis politician who passed away of cancer a long time ago. And Clem Shortji is from my hometown of Buffalo Narrows. And so he's saying, like, I'm very proud of Northern Youth has taken initiative in doing this, and how can I help? How can I support? And I gave him one item on the agenda. I said, I'd like to be gifted a teepee because I'm doing a hunger strike. I don't want to borrow some stranger's teepee to watch me starve and bear witness to the history of what will happen on that lawn only to give it back to them. And do you want to know what his response was? Well, I don't know how much a teepee costs or even where to get one, but I can make a financial contribution. And he sent me a little bit of change. And now this is the man who wears $30,000 beaded vests that Christy Belcourt made. He's got a collection of $15,000 plus Métis vests and regalia, and he basically dresses himself like a monarch in this priceless Métis art. And he has the audacity to call himself a leader, when really, if he was doing his job, if the Métis Nation as a governmental organization was doing its job, I'd be at home right now.
Yeah.
So I'm very disappointed in him. And then the president, Glenn McCollum of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan, inboxed me. You want to know what he said? I want you to post on your Facebook page that you have our unwavering support. Click. I said, when I see it. He didn't even send a bottle of water.
Wow.
And so I wrote this Facebook post, saying, how dare they text me? You have our support. Tell people you have our support. We stand with you 100%. When I haven't seen their support. It doesn't exist. Not even in a little financial contribution. Clem Shortji made a personal donation. He said, I'm going to make a personal donation.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, keep your stolen money. Like, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so no, they haven't really supported in an official capacity. And then when I wrote these Facebook posts exposing them, because our colonial media doesn't report on the corruption of their favorite tokens, so somebody's gotta. I wrote these Facebook statuses. They got shared like 200 plus times, and that's when area directors started calling me. Well, we were going to help. We planned on helping you, but then you went and called us out, and you went to Facebook instead of asking us. And I'm thinking, I don't need to ask you. It should be a damn given. I'm a youth. I'm doing this for the youth that you're supposed to be fighting for. You're flying all over Canada, collecting honorariums, per diems, on top of your unjustifiable salaries. And what is that getting us? We're still burying. We're still saying goodbye. We're still grieving. We're still hurting. And you're still buying expensive, priceless things, acting like you lead, like you're even worthy of that art. And I'm here to say that my criticism extends beyond Scott Moe and the Saskatchewan Party. It goes to our own politicians too, because they have a role to play. They have a capacity and they have a responsibility to be helping us. And they are failing. If they were succeeding, I would be home right now.
Yeah. Well, if they were succeeding, then those numbers and statistics wouldn't be nearly as high as they were.
No.
And so what has been the overall response from community as you're doing this? From non-elected, just community, grassroots people? I would imagine you've probably seen quite a bit of support along the journey so far.
Oh, yes. People have dropped off lunches for us, nice hot lunches on the highway. People have dropped off bug spray, energy drinks, vitamin waters, cases upon cases of water. It got to the point where our little van was sardined right to the roof. And I had to make a Facebook post opening the back of the van, showing them that I'm a literal Tetris champ and I've just fit everything I could possibly fit. And I'm like, please, no more water. So those are our grassroots people. And as far as our Métis Nation goes, it's like no bottle of water in there was given to us by our president of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan and our president of the National Council, Clement Shorty, who lives in Ottawa.
Well, and it's really sad when you consider these people, I'm assuming, are all probably making 6 figures a year. They have millions of dollars in their travel budgets and, you know, meal allowance budgets and accommodations budgets. And then when it's grassroots initiatives, they can't seem to fund it. They can't seem to even promote it on their websites. Like they can't seem to promote it on their Facebook pages. Like they just kind of disappear, you know? That's what I notice anyway. So.
And here's what I'm going to tell you. Like in the beginning, I'm talking about Scott Moe and his caucus of dodo birds stuck in the past, still thinking this is the British Empire and it's the greatest empire that ever was and we're the happiest people in the British Empire. Like they're in that delusion. Anyway, so I started criticizing them. And our Métis politicians are like, ha ha ha, he's calling out the Sask party. Look at that. He's calling them out. And then I turn to them and what have you been doing? And they're like, make it about the kids. Don't make it about yourself. And it's like, you're so fucking transparent.
Yeah, it really is, right? Oh man, that's awful. I would like to say it's surprising that they're not supporting you, but it really kind of isn't, because you just don't see them supporting any real initiatives from within, you know, their Métis Nation or anything like that. I mean, and it's really quite sad. And like you said, on top of that, like the real problems here is like, what are they doing about suicide? What are they doing about these problems that communities face?
What are they doing about anything that's not their bank account and their own egos and reputations?
Yeah, it's like if they can't get the press out and get their names in the papers and get on CBC for it, then they really don't want to do it.
No. And I've had, after I made those posts calling out our elected officials, I received a phone call from our president of the Métis Nation. This is Glenn. Call me. Click. And I'm like, fuck, man, I'm walking 49 kilometers a day. You think I'm going to call you and let you have a little temper tantrum in my ear? I got better shit to do. So I didn't call it. And his family starts inboxing me and commenting on my things. We're withdrawing our support from your movement because you don't respect elders. I respect elders. My elders walk with me. My elders support me. My elders pray for me. Those guys are just old teenagers who think their age is this license to walk around and I'm an elder, obey me. I will help you, but it'll be on my terms. And it's like, no, actually, I'm driving this car. That is our movement down to Regina. You could take a fucking back seat because you've been driving unimpaired for too long and it's got us nowhere.
I love the way you describe that, like they're teenagers, because like when I think of elders, I think of people that work for their community. Everything they do is for the youth, to make the future generations better. And I don't see that if you look across the country, even with all these Métis organizations. I'm not seeing a lot of that with the ones that are funded by government. They're not focused on communities. There's communities that are literally starving and they do nothing. So like for them to call themselves elders, to me is disrespectful to actual elders as far as I can see. But so I like the way you put that. I like the way that, and I love the way that you're not giving them your time. I think that's so vital these days, is just to not even worry about it. So I have a huge respect for what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I wish I could get out there and actually see you and, you know, get out there and walk with you a bit. But yeah, it's just an amazing thing.
Maybe stop by in Regina. We could do an interview on the lawn.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I've honestly, I was thinking about that this morning. I was thinking, how do I get to Regina in the next few days? Like when you get there.
We'll be there for like 11 days. And I'll be there for a long time. I'll probably be fasting for over a month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so do you have, when you get there, do you have, you were talking about getting a teepee, do you have people that have thrown in their support that way and provided some, I guess,
I'll
teepee
tell
and some
you.
stuff?
I'll tell. I met this Indigenous woman in Prince Albert, and she came up to me and said, "We've been praying for you in our sweat lodge, and we had a vision about you in our sweat lodge and this dream you had, and I want you to know we're having another sweat lodge tonight, and we'll be praying for you." And I said, "Well, guess what? I'm spending another night in PA to rest, so can I come?" And she's like, "Oh my God, you would come?" And I said, "Of course." So I went to their sweat lodge, and the elder there, he said, "I want you to have that teepee." And he gave it to me.
Wow.
And I said, "Well, the president of the Métis National Council gave me a bit of money, and can I give you his donation?" And he's like, "No, no, you keep that money, burn it up in your gas tank." And he said, "I already make enough money at the schools anyway, because he runs youth culture camps and cultural retreats. But he's just this humble guy in this cabin in the woods with a few teepees, with a smokehouse, with a sweat lodge. And he's just this really cool elder, like with his foot in both worlds, the traditional world and the modern world. Like he's got like gray hair, he's super old, and he's like, 'You want to see my drone?' I was like, 'You have a drone?' like,
That's fantastic.
so he's just this deadly guy. And so I consider him to be our leaders.
Mhm.
Nobody voted for him, but when he speaks, people listen. Where he goes, people follow,
Yeah,
and he gives advice, they take it to heart. Um,
absolutely.
when our Métis presidents speak, when our chiefs speak, you know, when when our like AFNs come down to grace us with the grand entry at a powwow and speak, we're like, how long are they gonna talk for?
Yeah,
Like, so we know
absolutely.
who our leaders are.
Yeah,
They're not the bureaucrats.
yeah. Are you yourself like a member of the Métis Nation? I'm assuming that you are.
Well, I didn't want to jump through all the hoops of getting my card because
Okay.
I'm busy and I travel a lot, and I'm thinking
Hmm.
like, damn, um, my grandpa's Métis, my family's Métis, my dad's Métis, my auntie's uncle's grandpa. I mean, what do I got to prove? I'm a fiddle player, damn it. I literally make my livelihood on the Red River Jig. How Métis do you want me to get? Who do I got to prove it to?
Yeah,
Oh, no, I don't have my Métis card,
yeah.
but I'm Métis.
Well, that's fantastic. And again, I think it's one of those things. It's like, well, how much time do you dedicate to doing that? It's not worth your time, right? Like
Hmm.
your time is better spent fiddling and doing the things that you
Yeah,
either enjoy or make your living at or can help
yeah.
few people. So
So I read this questionnaire to actually do your application for the Métis card, and in the privacy statements, it's like they want a family tree like 5 generations back. They want like birth certificates. They want wedding certificates. They want dates of marriages of grandparents, and then they say this information may or may not be shared with different organizations and academic institutions and different historical organizations and with the public. And I'm thinking that's really voyeuristic to
yeah.
be wanting to look into my family generations back and say, oh, yes, by the way, we're going to give this to whoever the hell we want.
Mm.
And I thought, gross. Like, that's some like South Korea shit where it's like you do something bad and they punish your whole family. It's like it's just weird. I don't know. It's dictatorial. It's gross like who thought of that?
Well, and to me, it just screams of colonial. You need all this proof that of who you are in order to satisfy the government of Canada. So to me, it's that puppeting of the government of Canada. So the
Mm,
government of Canada says we need this. Oh, we'll do that. Yes, sir. No problem, sir. And you're right. I think for most people, it's a ridiculous thing to have to go through.
yeah.
And it's the same thing
So
with status cards. It's a runaround. It's just never ending paperwork. Same thing.
yeah. I mean, there's a really sad reality in the north of absent fathers and mothers raising their children alone and grandmothers raising their grandchildren. because there's so much alcoholism. It's just an epidemic. That's what Firewater is all about. That's what Harold Johnson's work, and that's what he was trying to bring into the public consciousness of this in our culture, in our northern culture, of getting drunk with aunties and uncles and grandparents and parents and brothers and sisters. It's not normal. Like, it's no, don't do that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I read his book that I realized, oh, that wasn't normal for me to not have a single sober uncle on my dad's side or my mom's side, generations back. It's not normal that my father is an alcoholic who left me when I was 4 years old, and his father was an alcoholic that left him when he was a child. It's not normal.
Yeah.
And so basically, I also want to say that the amount of people we bury in our communities, the amount of people we lose to suicide and hopelessness and drug overdoses and gang violence and you name it, is not normal.
No.
And it's like we're being gaslighted by the Canadian government.
Yeah.
Oh, we're investing in the North. It's like we're being gaslighted by our premier, who comes up to do a photo op, call it consultation, go back down, continue to do nothing. It's like we're being gaslighted by our politicians who are flying over Canada, acting like millionaires and coming to the reserves and saying, you know what, things are done a certain way. We fight our battle for our people on a different front. And it's like, what battle are you fighting? Because I haven't seen us win anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do your job, make them honor that pile of broken treaties. Start there.
Yeah.
And then come and tell
hold
us
them
you're
accountable.
fighting for us. How dare you wear sacred regalia and $200 pairs of down-to-earth jeans to come to grand entries on reserves where they're literally declaring states of emergency every winter because they're losing children at unprecedented rates.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it is. It's a sad. It's like they've classed themselves out of being in touch with the actual people that they claim that they represent, and they don't hold, and they're not holding a government accountable.
No,
like you said, I mean, just on suicide alone, what is the work that's being done? Like, what they should be able to say, okay, well, we didn't do that, but here's what we are doing, and it should be something of significance. But I don't ever see that happening with any of these. It's just not happening. And I've noticed it with things like suicide, but also with like just living conditions and housing and things like that. Like, they're not really pushing the government to get anything done, and they themselves aren't really getting anything done. So these millions of dollars just seem to get absorbed, and then we don't really know what happens.
No, it's like these organizations and these bureaucracies have become so big and self-serving that they totally cannibalize any funding that's supposed to make its way down to our people.
Yeah, and it's like it's a real bad trickle down.
It's like Witchigoos Incorporated. We're just going to eat up everything that comes in front of us, and you're not going to get any of it.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess, so what you said, 11 days you're going to be in Regina, or that's the goal, I guess.
I'm hoping 11 to 12 days. I can't really give any timelines. Sometimes we walk until we cannot take another step, literally, and they have to come get me and put me in the vehicle and drive me to where we're going to sleep and help me walk to bed because I'm in such pain. Like, that's where we're at. And sometimes we need a day to just rest, to just get out of the sun, get some food, turn off our phones, and just sleep. So there are no timelines. We're literally walking on the epitome of Indian time.
Well, I think it's amazing. I have a friend who's walked across from Victoria to Ottawa for various reasons, at least 3 times. And I walked a portion with him, and man, it is not easy. Like, you think walking, but it's not like walking to the corner store. It's like it is hard on the body after that many kilometers. So I have great respect for what you're doing.
So the very first days we started the walk, we needed to take a break every 2 hours. Sit down, water up, put new socks on. And then after the first week, it's like, Chris, it's been 5 hours. We better stop and, hydrate. Like
Yeah.
we get into that zone. Our bodies have gotten used to this pace. And I no
Yeah.
longer go to sleep with legs so sore I could hardly lift them to roll over.
Yeah.
I go to sleep with legs that feel fine. I wake up with legs that feel fine, and then away I go. And
Mm.
some days we walk 49 kilometers for 13 hours.
Wow.
And so it's just funny to me that people online think they're going to give me critiques and constructive criticism, like, you attract more flies with honey, don't be so hostile. I mean, damn it, I'm doing a prevention, like suicide prevention walk for action and a hunger strike. Sorry if I'm not a fucking ball of sunshine.
Yeah.
I'm baking in the July sun all
Yeah.
day long, worn out soles on my shoes, like not even a bottle of water from my Métis politicians. And you want me to kiss your ass and be, oh, thank you for this advice. Thank you for this advice. No.
Yeah. No, I love that attitude, and I think it is one thing. Like, I mean, you're not doing this so that you can, you know, make a lot of money. You're not doing this for selfish reasons. You're doing it very much to raise awareness, to highlight some of these
Yep.
atrocities that are happening. And for people to critique that, and you know, it's really easy for me to sit here on my couch, you know, my pajamas at 2 p.m. while you're on your 9th hour of walking. It's really easy to critique you, but until people get up and start doing it, they themselves, or join you, or join others that are doing walks like this, I just think it's a place where you just shouldn't comment unless you've actually
Amen.
willing to help.
There's a photo in the Star Phoenix of this old man carrying our Eagle staff at the front of the line. They took a picture of him. This is Tristen Durocher, who started a walk from La Ranche, and he's going to Regina. And it was just some random old guy. And they called him Tristen Durocher. I'm Tristen Durocher.
Wow.
And so I took a screenshot of that. I posted it on the page. And I'm like, this is kind of hilarious. I mean, maybe this walk and the inept politicians who try to give me constructive criticism has aged me 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe that is me. It was just as a joke. And people commented, it doesn't matter if you're not at the front. This isn't about you. Stop trying to make this about you. Blah, 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 blah. You're so self-centered. Do it for the kids. Do it for the kids.
Yeah.
Remember why you started this. And it's like, how dare you say that to me?
Yeah.
Well, you're at home, and this is your children I'm trying to save, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I, you know, one of the things that drives me crazy is people that would do what I call, and I think a lot of people call, tone policing, which is,
Oh, God.
you know, oh, you shouldn't get angry. Don't get angry. You got to be super nice.
Yes.
When? Why can't we get angry that youth are killing themselves because they see no future for them?
If we're
Why
not
can't we get
not angry, we're a little too drunk on pacifying substances, you know.
Well, or you're too drunk on that money that's pouring into your organization.
We're ostriches that have buried our heads a little too far into the sand.
Yeah.
If not angry by what's going on.
Absolutely. No, I see that a lot. I see that a lot with you know, other activists and other people trying to make a difference in the Indigenous world, and people are constantly, well, you can't get angry. Why not? What better reason is there to get angry with your government? You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's time we need to get angry. To be honest with you, I think more people need to start getting angry.
I think a lot of the politicians are inboxing me to tone police and stuff because they're scared that as I go and do this thing and literally put my health, safety, life in danger, their communities, their children are going to ask, where's your commitment? What have you been doing?
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, don't bring attention to how much we haven't done, please. You attract more flies with honey, Tristen. Remember that.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not trying to attract flies. I'm trying to bring some meaningful action forth.
Absolutely.
Not speak little rainbow hope-filled words. You know, that's a bunch of bullshit we don't have time for anymore, because you've been trying these tactics during your quote years in the game, and they haven't got us anywhere. So get the hell out of my way,
Yeah.
support me, or stay back.
Well, and honestly, I think it's time for the older generation to realize that it is time for the younger generations to start taking the mantle on these things, taking the leadership. And I
Yeah.
don't, and it's scary for a lot of, the people that are in these positions right now to give up that power. They don't want to give that up, God forbid. But reality is people like yourself and so many others that are doing amazing things. We need to just simply get out of your way and just say, you're right.
Yeah.
You need to do what you need to do, and we just need to step back and encourage you and support you. That's how I always
Yeah.
look at this stuff. But
So my battery on the phone is at 7%.
okay.
Do you have any wrap up questions?
No, I think I'm good. I just I will make sure to promote your walking page and things like that, and
Thank you.
maybe just push people towards your social media platforms. So
Thank
I
you so
really
much.
appreciate your time today. Thank you.